Hey, welcome to another Dr. Bret Reacts video. I'm Bret Manasseh, a 20-year psychotherapist and graduate school counseling professor. And today I react to one of the 3 best-known therapy sessions in psychology. They've become known as the Gloria films, because on one day in late 1964, a woman named Gloria Szymanski sat with Albert Ellis, Fritz Perls, and Carl Rogers, one after the other, and each worked with Gloria in their own distinct way. I react to Ellis's and Perls's sessions on this channel too, but today we're going to look at how Gloria responded to Carl Rogers and his person-centered therapy. In a nutshell, the heart of person-centered theory is the assumption that all living things have a natural tendency to develop into whatever they have the potential to become. And the only thing necessary to activate this innate tendency are the proper conditions. You see this all around you every day. A tree doesn't need to be taught how to be a tree. Give an acorn an environment with water, sun, and soil, and it just naturally starts becoming itself. Well, same thing with people, Rogers thought. But instead of water, sun, and soil, a person needs a psychological environment of genuine, empathic, non-possessive, non-judgmental acceptance. Nobody ever gets those things perfectly or even most of the time. But the degree to which a person gets that has a lot to do with how healthy they are. And if they don't get enough of it as kids, they can get it later in life. By a therapist, yes, but really anybody could create an environment like that. And according to Rogers, the person would grow in a constructive, forward direction, no matter who was creating that genuine, empathic, accepting environment. I put healthy in air quotes a second ago because Rogers didn't think in terms of health and disease. For him, mental health was the degree to which a person was congruent. That's the term he coined for it. Basically, he meant being comfortable in your own skin, being aware of yourself and being aware of your experiences as much as you can, and accepting yourself and accepting your experiences as much as you can. The more congruent you are, the more spontaneously and authentically you live life, and the happier and more fulfilled you are. Now, Gloria comes into this session not very comfortable in her own skin at all, and this incongruence comes out as anxiety, guilt, indecisiveness, sadness, anger, a need for Rogers's approval. But these aren't the problems that Rogers thinks he needs to solve, so he won't try. But he will do his best to let Gloria feel genuinely, empathically understood and accepted, trusting that in that environment she will reconnect with her innate tendency to grow, to figure out for herself which direction to grow in, and how best to untangle her conflicts however they come to her mind. So, with that preamble out of the way, let's start from the very top of the session, and I'll give you commentary as we go.
Good morning.
Hello, Dr.
I'm Dr. Rogers. You must be Gloria.
Yes, I am.
Let's have this chair. Now, we have half an hour together, and I really don't know what we'll be able to make of it, but I hope we can make something of it. I'd be glad to know whatever concerns you.
Well, right now I'm nervous, but I feel more comfortable the way you're talking in a low voice, and I don't feel like you'll be so harsh on me. But,
I hear the tremor in your voice, so I know you are uneasy.
Before she came in, Gloria had first met with Albert Ellis and then with Fritz Perls. Wonderful theorists, wonderful therapists. They just had a very different style than Rogers. They believed in challenging the client more forcefully, and with both of them, Gloria became quite anxious. And you can tell from the very beginning with Rogers, she walks in nervous and anxious. At first, Rogers called his style of counseling non-directive therapy, meaning that he didn't direct the session, didn't decide what to talk about, what the client needed to do. Later, though, he rephrased it, thinking that non-directive therapy didn't mean without any direction. He meant that the session is directed by the client, by the person, and the name of his approach changed to client-centered therapy and then to person-centered therapy. And from the very beginning of this session, he doesn't direct, didn't question, not even a simple, what do you want to talk about? Or how can I help you? He thought that even harmless questions like that put expectations on the client. So he stated his openness to some kind of interaction with Gloria and let her decide the rest.
Well, the main thing I want to talk to you about is I'm just newly divorced, and I had gone in therapy before, and I felt comfortable when I left, and all of a sudden now the biggest change is adjusting to my single life. And one of the things that bother me the most is especially men and having men to the house and how it affects the children. And the biggest thing the thing that keeps coming to my mind I want to tell you about is I have a daughter, 9, who at one time I felt I had a lot of emotional problems. And I wish I could stop shaking.
Both Ellis and Perls approached Gloria with a clear idea of what they thought her issue was. Ellis thought that Gloria was unreasonably, even irrationally shy around men, and that she didn't need to be so shy. Perls believed that Gloria was being kind of phony, kind of fake, not real with him, and each of them decided to direct their therapy toward what they believed Gloria needed. But notice that's not what Gloria says she needed. When she was given an open floor, she started talking about her daughter. That subject never came up in the Ellis or Perls sessions. Now, that might not be the only thing that's on Gloria's mind, but that's what came up first, and Rogers is perfectly happy to follow her.
And I'm real conscious of things affecting her. I don't want her to get upset. I don't want to shock her. I want so bad for her to accept me. And we're real open with each other, especially about sex. And the other day, she saw a girl that was single but pregnant, and she asked me all about, can girls get pregnant if they're single? And the conversation was fine, and I wasn't at ease at all with her until she asked me if I'd ever made love to a man since I've left her daddy, and I lied to her. And ever since that, it keeps coming up to my mind because I feel so guilty lying to her because I never lie and I want her to trust me. And I almost want an answer from you. I want you to tell me if it will affect her wrong if I told her the truth or what.
And it's this concern about her and the fact that you really aren't, that this open relationship that has existed between you now you feel is kind of
Yes, I feel
damaged.
like I have to.
And this is what irritated me when I first saw this film 25 plus years ago. Gloria asks him a direct question, and he just kind of sidesteps it. He spoke back what he heard her say, but he didn't answer the question, didn't even acknowledge that she had asked a question. And this is going to be a theme through the next 5 or 10 minutes of the session, and Gloria's going to get pretty frustrated with him.
On guard about that because I remember when I was a little girl, when I first found out my mother and father made love, it was dirty and terrible, and I didn't like her anymore for a while. And I don't want to lie to Pammy either, and I don't know.
And I sure wish I could give you the answer as to what you should tell her.
A couple of things come up for me here. First, she didn't seem to notice that he sidestepped her question. But by not answering, Gloria was free to steer the session spontaneously, and she brought up childhood. Some theorists say it's critical for a client to get insight into childhood, and Rogers accepted that childhood stuff could cause problems today. But if so, he thought the client would bring up childhood on their own if they needed to and when they were ready to do it. And right off the bat, she's talking about childhood. Rogers didn't ask her about it, didn't assume that she even needed to talk about it. She brought it up whenever it came to her, and she'll talk about it until she thinks it's something else. That's Gloria directing the session. The second thing that came up for me was that Rogers himself, in hindsight, wasn't especially happy with his performance in this film. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the moments that he would critique himself on, because he has a kind of an ironic, almost teasing smile on his face. Gloria's serious about this, and his response seems just a little bit out of sync. But it's early in the session still. Let's see where he goes with it.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Because what you really want is an answer.
Okay, now his tone is on the same emotional wavelength as Gloria. One of my rules of thumb is that a counselor's most important response is their next response. And what I mean by that is that nobody, not even Carl Rogers, gets every response exactly right the first time. And if the therapist isn't right on track, they can adjust with their very next response, like Rogers did right there.
I want to especially know if it would affect her, if I was completely honest and open with her, or if it would affect her because I lied. I feel like it's bound to make a strain because I lied to her.
Sort of feels she'll suspect that, or she will know something's not quite right.
I feel that
in the
inside
relationship.
she'll distrust me, yes. And also I thought, well, gee, what about when she gets a little older and she finds herself in touchy situations? She probably wouldn't want to admit it to me because she thinks I'm so good and so sweet. And yet I'm afraid she could think I'm really a devil. And I want so bad for her to accept me. And I don't know how much a 9-year-old can take.
I want my daughter to accept me. Yet Gloria doesn't know if she's acceptable or not. And that gets back to Rogers's belief about mental health, being comfortable in your own skin, accepting yourself for who you are. Now, Gloria is not especially congruent because she has a belief, one of many, as we'll see, that a good mother is fill in the blank, or a good person does fill in the blank. Therefore, if I don't do blank, I must not be good. Rogers called beliefs like that conditions of worth, literally conditions that we place on our worthiness. If I do blank, I am worthy, acceptable, lovable. If I don't do blank, I am unworthy, unacceptable, unlovable. And you can see how a belief like that can keep us from being comfortable in our own skin. Gloria's condition of worth here might be a good woman, a good mother, doesn't have sex out of wedlock. And that belief leads to her anxiety, guilt, and insincerity with her daughter. But not just with her daughter, as we'll see.
And really, both alternatives concern you, that she might think you're too good or better than you really are.
Yes.
And she might think that you're worse than you are.
Rogers points out the conflict, which he's going to do a lot, that Gloria doesn't want her daughter to think she's better than she is or worse than she is. Notice that Gloria said the sexual side of her is a devil. That shows how intense her condition of worth is. Now, that belief might not be reasonable or rational, and some therapists believe it's important to identify and contradict the unreasonable, irrational things that a client tells themselves. Notice that Rogers doesn't. He doesn't challenge her. He doesn't criticize her. He doesn't question her. He simply points out what he hears. Both sides bother you. She might see you as better or worse. Listen to what Gloria does next.
Not worse than I am. I don't know if she can accept me the way I am.
Not worse than I am. She almost instantly changed her perception. And that's an example of her actualizing tendency. A tiny bit of motion towards greater self-acceptance, toward greater congruence. Because not 15 seconds ago, she was afraid she was a devil. Rogers didn't need to call it out. Gloria is ever so slightly reshaping how she perceives herself by simply being given the space to do it.
I think I paint a picture that I'm all sweet and motherly, and I'm a little ashamed of my shady side, too.
She reframed it again, from devilish side to shady side, and she's hating on herself slightly less.
I see. It really cuts a little deeper. If she really knew you, could she accept you?
This is what I don't know, yes. I don't want her to turn away from me.
I'm not sure Rogers has found his groove yet, because his tone is tentative, maybe even a little removed. He might be nervous, because a film series like this had never been attempted before, and that might have gotten in his head a little bit. I point this out not to bash Rogers, but just so that we have a baseline here that we can compare it to a stretch a little bit later in the film where he is right in sync with her. I just don't think he's quite found his footing yet. But even his attempt to hear her and understand her facilitates positive motion in Gloria.
And I don't even know how I feel about it, because there are times when I feel so guilty, like when I have a man over. I even try to make a special setup so that if I were ever alone with him, the children would never catch me and that sort of thing. Because I'm real leery about it. And yet I also know I have these desires.
So it's quite clear it isn't only her problem or the relationship with her, it's in you as well.
And my guilt, yeah. I feel guilty so often.
What can I accept myself as doing? And,
yes.
Rogers brings the session back to Gloria. So far, Gloria has been talking about her daughter. What will she think? How will she be affected? But Rogers highlights that Gloria herself doesn't know how she feels about it. Person-centered therapists try to have as little impact on the session as possible so that the client can be as free to direct the session as they need it to be. But counselors can influence a session by what they choose to comment on. I tell my students to listen for 6 things when a client is speaking. First, listen for anything said with emphasis. Then listen for any bit of new information. Listen for anything conflicting or contrasting. Listen for what's implied, not just what is said. Listen for ways to bring it back to the client, and to listen for shoots of growth, any forward motion in the client. Pointing these things out tend to be pretty therapeutically fruitful, I've found. In fact, I've got a whole talk on my channel about this, but I bring these 6 things up here so that we can see how Rogers uses them. He's already held space for conflict, and he's going to do that a lot for this session. Here, he brings the conversation back to Gloria.
And you realize that you set up sort of subterfuges so as to make sure that you're not caught or something. You realize that you are acting from guilt, is that?
Yes. I don't like the way, I would like to feel comfortable with whatever I do. If I choose not to tell Pammy the truth, to feel comfortable that she can handle it, and I don't.
She says, I want to be comfortable with whatever I do. That's congruence, being comfortable in her own skin. Rogers didn't have to teach her about congruence or get her to want it. He thought that people are inwardly motivated towards it, that forward-moving directional tendency that he called self-actualization. And completely unguided, that's what Gloria says she wants. But she's also aware of parts of herself that she doesn't accept, which come from those conditions of worth. And like all of us, Gloria's got a bunch of them.
I want to be honest, and yet I feel there are some areas that I don't even accept.
And if you can't accept them in yourself, how could you possibly be comfortable in telling them to her?
Right.
And yet, as you say, you do have these desires and you do have your feelings, but you don't feel good about them.
Right.
He reflects conflict again. You do have your feelings, but you don't feel good about them. Notice he doesn't try to resolve the conflict. He just points it out. It might be frustrating to watch, and it absolutely was for me when I was just learning. But here's a metaphor that helps me explain what's happening. Let's say that I work out with a personal trainer, which obviously I do not, but hypothetically, if I did, the personal trainer wouldn't lift the weights for me, right? No, the trainer sets up a space with weights or barbells or something and would let me get my reps in on them. Because struggling with the weights is how I grow, right? Well, this is exactly what Rogers is doing. He holds space for Gloria to struggle with this conflict. You do have your feelings, but you don't feel good about them.
And I have a feeling you're just going to sit there and let me stew on it, and I want more. I want you to help me get rid of my guilt feeling. If I can get rid of my guilt feeling about lying or going to bed with a single man, any of that, just so I can feel more comfortable.
Now, in this moment, Gloria talks about her immediate experience with Rogers in the here and now, that she wants more from him, and implies some frustration with him. Watch how Rogers responds.
And I guess I'd like to say, no, I don't want to let you just stew in your feelings. But on the other hand, I also feel that this is the kind of very private thing that I couldn't possibly answer for you. But I sure as anything will try to help you work toward your own answer. I don't know whether that makes any sense to you, but I mean it.
Look at that big smile. He says, I mean it. That's genuineness, sincerity, and Gloria feels it, which makes her smile. And what Rogers sincerely believes is that on some level, Gloria knows what is healthy for her and her daughter, and he trusts that she can get in touch with it. He also acknowledges her frustration with him and accepts her for being frustrated. That felt sense of acceptance has something to do with her big smile, too, I bet.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You sound like you mean it. But I don't know where to go. I don't begin to know where to go. I thought that I'd pretty well worked over most of my guilt, and now that this is coming up, I'm disappointed in myself. I really am. I like it when I feel that no matter what I do, even if it's against my own morals or my upbringing, that I can still feel good about me. And now I don't.
When I go against my own upbringing. She's talking about the messages she got as a child, about sex and motherhood and what a good woman, a good mother should be. She blended those messages into her developing self-concept as conditions of worth. Literally, conditions on her worthiness, on her acceptability, her likability, her lovability. And these conditions of worth are preventing her from doing what she says she wants. I want to feel good about myself no matter what I do. The conditions of worth don't let that happen, because the conditions of worth say I shouldn't feel what I'm feeling. I shouldn't want what I want. I shouldn't be what I am. And that incongruence between her self-concept and her experience is causing her distress.
Like, there's a girl at work who sort of mothers me. And I think she thinks I'm all sweet. And I sure don't want to show my more ornery, devilish side with her. I want to be sweet. And it's so hard for me this all seems so new again. And it's so disappointing.
Yeah, I get the disappointment that here, a lot of these things you thought you'd worked through, and now the guilt and the feeling that only a part of you is acceptable to anybody else.
Yes.
That keeps coming out.
New conflict. A woman at work who's kind of a mother figure for Gloria. Transference. Freudians would want to analyze this, but Rogers doesn't think it's necessary to analyze the transference or even to call it out. He just communicates acceptance of Gloria for having these difficult thoughts and feelings about this woman, and trusts Gloria to do the rest. Now, in that personal trainer metaphor, this new conflict is like a new exercise, a new set of weights. But here's the biggest weakness in that metaphor. In the gym, it's the trainer who decides the exercises, the weights, the number of reps, the number of sets. But the weight that Gloria is struggling with is weight that she put there herself. Rogers didn't put it there. All he did was listen, and when he heard conflict, spoke it back to her. Gloria can sense where her conflicts are, which one she's ready to work on, and when she's ready to face a different one. That's her actualizing tendency guiding the workout, and Rogers gives her space to get her reps in.
I guess I do catch the real deep puzzlement that you feel as to what the hell shall I do? What can I do?
Yes, and you know what I can find, Doctor, is that everything I start to do, impulse, it seems natural to tell Pam or to go out on a date or something. I'm comfortable until I think how I was affected as a child. And the minute that comes up, then I'm all haywire. Like, I want to be a good mother so bad, and I feel like I am a good mother.
Did you hear that? I want to be a good mother so bad, and I am a good mother. When she speaks from her condition of worth, a good mother is fill in the blank, there's insecurity in her voice, anguish even. And yet, her experience of herself is, I am a good mother. And when she speaks from her experience, a kind of confidence comes through, self-acceptance, comfort in her own skin. And you can hear her incongruence so clearly in that one simple sentence. I want to be a good mother, and I am a good mother. She can't seem to integrate her experience of herself into her idea of herself because that idea is warped by a condition of worth. I said that Rogers wasn't especially happy with his performance in the film, though, and this film got him so much criticism that we haven't even gotten to yet, that when the producers of this film decided to make another series of videos 12 years later, Rogers asked for a do-over. He went again. But I think this session with Gloria demonstrates his ideas even better than his do-over session in the mid-70s. Because in Gloria, you can see incongruence, movement toward congruence, you see conditions of worth, the actualizing tendency, and it's all emerging in just the first 8 minutes. It's a pretty big misconception that person-centered therapy takes a long time. With some people, maybe. With others, maybe not. Dandelions pop up seemingly overnight. Oak trees can take 50 years. But the same conditions support their growth. That's important, so I'll say it again. The same conditions support their growth, whether it's a dandelion, an oak tree, a cactus, a tomato, an onion, a tuft of crabgrass, whatever. And Rogers doesn't try to make an oak tree grow faster, and he doesn't try to slow down a dandelion. He knows just how fruitless that can be. He just provides the conditions as best he can and lets Gloria do the rest.
But then there's those little exceptions, like my guilt with working. I want to work, and it's so fun having extra money. I like to work nights. The minute I think I'm not being real good to the children or giving them enough time, then I start feeling guilty again. Then that's when it's what do they call it? A double bind. That's just what it feels like. I want to do this, and it feels right, but after all, I'm not being a good mother, and I want to be both.
New condition of worth. A good mother doesn't work outside the home. And yet, her experience is that she likes working. This is a new set of weights that she has put on her barbell. Here's another metaphor that I really like. Say you got a bunch of necklaces in your jewelry box that you haven't worn in a long time. They get all knotted up together, right? Or maybe a junk drawer filled with extension cords, or computer cables, or a box of Christmas lights up in the attic, right? They always get hopelessly tangled up. Well, ask yourself, is there a linear, straightforward path to untangling them? I don't think so. Most people work a little bit over here, then a little bit over there, and then a little bit over here. And that's what Gloria is doing. She's weaving herself exquisitely through this knot of issues, finding new ones as she goes. Some counselors might want to stop and work on one issue at a time. Not Rogers. He follows her as she senses her way through all these tangled up issues. I'll work a little bit on my mom, a little bit on this lady from work, then a little bit on my job, then a little bit on sex and motherhood. It's an intuitive process, not a linear process. And with Rogers, she gets the space to do it.
I'm becoming more and more aware of what a perfectionist I am. That's what it seems like. I want to be so perfect. Either I want to become perfect in my standards or not have that need anymore.
Or I guess I hear it a little differently, that what you want is to seem perfect, that it means it's a matter of great importance to you to be a good mother, and you want to seem to be a good mother even if some of your actual feelings differ from that. Does that catch you?
Gee, I don't feel like I'm saying that. No, that isn't what I feel, really.
There's another issue in that tangled up knot: perfectionism. And Gloria feels safe enough to disagree with Rogers. He spoke back to her what he thought he heard, and he was wrong. That's reassuring for therapists, that we don't have to get it right every time, because not even Carl Rogers did. But watch how he handles it.
I want to approve of me always, but my actions won't let me. I want to approve of me. I think...
I realize you... All right, let me... because I'd like to understand that. You sound as though your actions are kind of outside of you. You want to approve of you, but what you do somehow won't let you approve of yourself.
Right.
He's trying to understand, even though I still don't think he does. But he accepts that he was off target the first time, communicates a genuine desire to understand, and tries it again. That's a big reason that counselors reflect what they hear, not just to communicate what they do understand, but to check their understanding with the client. And when he wasn't quite on track, she clarified for him, which gives her more time to sit with the conflict that he pointed out, and gives him more time to understand Gloria even better. New counselors can hesitate to reflect if they're not sure they're going to be right. But this response here shows that even a missed response is helpful to both Gloria and to Rogers.
Like, I feel that I could approve of myself regarding, for example, my sex life. This is the big thing. If I really fell in love with a man and I respected him and I adored him, I don't think I'd feel so guilty going to bed with him, and I don't think I'd have to make up any excuses to the children because they could see my natural caring for him. But when I have the physical desire and I'll say, oh, well, why not? And I want to anyway, then I feel guilty afterwards. I hate facing the kids, I don't like looking at myself, and I rarely enjoy it.
Now that could be another condition of worth. A good person has sex only with someone they love and respect. I say that it could be a condition of worth because at this point it's not clear if this is something that Gloria had just been taught or if it's what she truly feels is right for her. Does she ditch the condition of worth and stop feeling bad about having sex? I mean, this was the freewheeling 1960s, right? Or does she stop having sex until she really loves and respects the person? Rogers doesn't know. Gloria herself doesn't know. At least, not in this moment. It can be really uncomfortable for counselors to sit in this much uncertainty, especially if they feel an obligation to resolve it. Rogers doesn't take that on. He trusts that Gloria can resolve this conflict for herself. She just doesn't have to do it by herself. She can do it in the space that Rogers is giving her.
And this is what I mean. If the circumstances would be different, I don't think I'd feel so guilty because I'd feel right about it.
Yeah, I guess I hear you saying if what I was doing when I went to bed with a man was really genuine and full of love and respect and so on, I wouldn't feel guilty in relation to Pam. I wouldn't, I really would be comfortable about the situation.
That's how I feel, yes. And I know that sounds like I want a perfect situation, but that is how I feel. And in the meantime, I can't stop these desires. I've tried that also. I've tried saying, okay, I don't like myself when I do that, so I won't do it anymore. But then I resent the children. I think, why should they stop me from doing what I want? And it's really not that bad.
Vulnerability. She feels safe enough to say something that a good mother probably shouldn't say. Good mothers don't resent their children, right? And yet, in this moment, she feels safe enough to acknowledge that feeling within herself and safe enough to share it with Rogers. She seems to be finding new layers of her conflict with almost everything she says. That's her actualizing tendency leading the way.
But I guess I heard you saying, too, that it isn't only the children, that you don't like it as well when it
Right.
really isn't
I'm
right.
sure I know that's it, probably even more so than I'm aware of. But I only notice it so much when I pick it up in the children. Then I can also notice it in myself.
And somehow, sometimes you kind of feel like blaming them for the feelings you have. I mean, why should they cut you off from a normal sex life?
Now, this could be another part of the film that Rogers was critical of his performance in. He accepted her resentment of her children, but he slipped the word normal in there. Who are they to cut me off from a normal sex life? That could be part of Rogers slipping out. He might have thought to himself, these desires are normal. And if he did, that's a judgment. Not a negative judgment, but Rogers thought that slipping in even a positive judgment, that something is normal, interferes with the client figuring that out for themselves, even if just a tiny bit. No therapist can ever listen completely non-judgmentally, so I don't think he beat himself up about it. But notice how Gloria responds to that word.
Well, a sex life, I could say, not normal, because there is something about me that says that's not very healthy to just go into sex because you feel physically attractive or something, or a physical need. So something about it tells me that's not quite right anyway.
So to feel really that at times you are acting in ways that are not in accord with your own inner standards.
Right, right.
But then you were also saying a minute ago, but you feel you can't help that either.
I wished I could.
He lets her struggle. He doesn't push the conversation forward. He doesn't direct it backward. He just tries to put words to her dilemma and speak them back so she gets more reps in on that weight. And if you notice, Gloria's face becomes more and more anguished. She's struggling, just like somebody on a weight bench when they're on their second or third set of reps. She's working, and you can see it in her face.
That's it. And I can't. Now I feel like I can't control myself as well as I could have before for a specific reason. Now I can't. I just let go, and there's too many things I do wrong that I have to feel guilty for, and I sure don't like that.
Here it comes. She's going to ask him again.
I want you very much to give me a direct answer, and I'm going to ask it, and I don't expect a direct answer, but I want to know, do you feel that, to me, the most important thing is to be open and honest? And if I can be open and honest with my children, do you feel that it could harm them if, for example, I could say to Pammy, I felt bad lying to you, Pammy, and I want to tell you the truth now. And if I tell her the truth, and she's shocked at me, and she's upset, that could bother her more. In other words, I want to get rid of my guilt, and that'll help me, but I don't want to put them on her.
That's right. Yeah.
More conflicts. I can't stop, but I wish I could. I don't want my guilt, but I can't dump it on Pam either. As your ear gets more attuned to conflicts pop out everywhere. And this is at least the second time, maybe the third time, that she's asked him, what should I do? And when I first saw this film 25 plus years ago, this is where I pretty much lost it with Rogers not answering her. I've got another talk on this channel called I Hated Carl Rogers, and this session was a big reason why. I got over it, obviously, and if you can believe it, today I try to counsel a lot like Rogers did. Watch that other video if you want to know more about how I evolved in my understanding of person-centered therapy. But let's get back to Gloria's question. Rogers is still not going to answer.
Do you feel that could hurt her?
Concern. I guess I'm sure this will sound evasive to you, but it seems to me that perhaps the person you're not being fully honest with is you.
So.
Now that was a confrontation. If Rogers had had a microphone in his hand, pow, that would be a mic drop confrontation. But notice how gently he said it. He even acknowledged that he might be coming across as evasive to her. He's very much aware of the here and now. He's aware of what he's saying, but he's also aware of how it might come across to her how she comes across to him, and communicating that both of them are acceptable just the way they are. And that acceptance is what allows Rogers to confront her like that.
Because I was very much struck by the fact that you were saying, if I feel all right about what I've done, whether it's going to bed with a man or what, if I really feel all right about it, then I don't have any concern about what I would tell Pam or my relationship with her.
Right. All right.
Shoot of growth. If I felt right, I wouldn't worry about anyone else.
Then all right, then
But
I
it's
want to
damn
work
tough.
I want to work on accepting me then. I want to work on feeling all right about it.
There it is. The actualizing tendency. This inner directedness toward growth, toward congruence, toward self-acceptance. It might take some time for her to fully embrace this inner direction, but the seeds of it are right there. And at least, according to Rogers, they've always been there.
But that makes sense, that'll come natural and then I won't have to worry about Pammy. But when things do seem so wrong for me and I have an impulse to do them, how can I accept that?
Anguish in her face and in her voice.
What you'd like to do is to feel more accepting toward yourself when you do things that you feel are wrong. Is that right?
Right. And I
Sounds
feel
like
like
a tough assignment.
Yeah.
He's holding space for the anguishing contradiction. Accept yourself when you do wrong. We don't see Gloria's face here, but when she heard the kind of silliness of that contradiction, I bet she smiled, which opened the door to some humor from Rogers. But it also highlights another condition of worth. I am not acceptable if I do something wrong.
I feel like you're going to say, now why do you think they're wrong? And I have mixed feelings there too. Through therapy, I'll say, now look, I know this is natural. Women feel it. Sure, we don't talk about it a lot socially, but all women feel it and it's very natural. I've had sex for the last 11 years. I'm, of course, going to want it, but I still think it's wrong unless you're really, truly in love with a man. And my body doesn't seem to agree. And so I don't know how to accept it.
Sounds like a triangle to me, doesn't it? You feel that I, or therapists in general, or other people say, it's all right, it's natural enough, go ahead. And I guess you feel your body sort of lines up on that side of the picture. But something in you says, but I don't like it that way, not unless it's really right.
Right.
He highlights the conflict so nicely. First time I saw this film 25 plus years ago, it felt like he was toying with her, playing word games with her while she anguished. But I get it now. The personal trainer metaphor. He's her trainer, her spotter, as she gets a workout in on this weight. Weight that she brought up herself when it came to her, when she was ready for it. This isn't being toyed with. It's making her stronger. This is one of the longest stretches of silence in the film, but it's not silent in Gloria's mind. She's thinking.
But I have a hopeless feeling. I mean, these are all the things I sort of feel myself, and I feel, okay, now what?
Sort of feel, this is the conflict, and it's just insoluble, and therefore it's hopeless. And here you look to me, and I don't seem to give you any help. And
Right.
Silence can be tough for therapists, and Rogers doesn't rush her. But in just a second, he is going to ask her a question. And he got called out for it because he always made such a big deal about not questioning clients. But it's coming. Watch for it.
I really know you can't answer for me and I have to figure it out myself, but I want you to guide me or show me where to start, or so it won't look so hopeless. I know I can keep living with this conflict, and I know eventually things would work out.
big shoot of growth here. She says, I know I have to answer this for myself, when just minutes before she was desperate for an answer from Rogers. She says, I know I can live with this conflict and figure it out, when only seconds before she was feeling hopeless. She did a lot of work in that silence just now.
But I like feeling more comfortable with the way I live. And I'm not.
One thing I might ask, what is it you wish I would say to you?
There it is, the question. What do you wish I would say? Up to now, not only has Rogers not answered any of Gloria's questions, he himself hasn't asked a question. Rogers thought questions restricted a client, limited them, and yet here he asks one. What do you wish I would say?
I wish you would say to me to be honest and take the risk that Pammy's going to accept me. And I also have a feeling if I could really risk it with Pammy, of all people, that I'd be able to see, here's this little kid that can accept me. And I'm really not that bad. If she really knows what a demon I am and still loves me and accepts me, it seems like it would help me to accept me more, like it's really not that bad. I want you to say, to go ahead and be honest. But I don't want the responsibility that it would upset her.
An existential dilemma. If I choose, then I'm responsible. And she's scared. But his question, what do you wish I would say? Let's watch how he uses that.
That's where I don't want to take responsibility for it.
Yeah. You know very well what you'd like to do in a relationship. You would like to be yourself, and you'd like to have her know that you're not perfect, and you do things that maybe even she wouldn't approve of, and that you disapprove of to some degree yourself. But that somehow she would love you and accept you as an imperfect person.
Yes. Like I wonder if my mother had been more open with me, maybe I wouldn't have had such a narrow attitude about sex. If I would have thought that she could be, pretty sexy and ornery and devilish too, but I wouldn't look at her as being such a sweet mother, that she could also be the other side. But she didn't talk about that. And maybe that's where I got my picture. I don't know. But I want Pammy to see me as a full woman, but also accept me.
You don't sound so uncertain.
I don't?
Look at that smile. Gloria feels trusted. From his question, she told him exactly how she wants to be with her daughter. She assessed her relationship with her own mother, and Rogers inferred that from the tone of Gloria's voice, you don't sound so uncertain. Big smile. Another misconception is that a person-centered therapist can't ask questions. Rogers just did, so that's obviously not true. But what kind of question was it? It didn't steer things where Rogers thought they should go. It didn't dig for information he thought was needed. No, his question helped reconnect Gloria to her own voice, her own actualizing tendency.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, you've been sitting there telling me just what you would like to do in that relationship with Pam.
I would, but I don't want to quite take the risk of doing it unless an authority tells me that.
I guess one thing that I feel very keenly is it's an awfully risky thing to live.
Another existential theme, the risk of being fully oneself. Remember, Gloria had just left a session with Fritz Perls, and both he and Rogers thought kind of the same thing about mental health. It meant living fully, authentically, spontaneously, freely choosing and fully experiencing life. Rogers called this being a fully functioning person. Perls called it living explosively, fully engaged in life. Same therapy goal, two very different ways of getting there. I've got another talk on this channel reacting to Gloria with Perls, and you can compare them for yourself. But back to Rogers and how risky it is to live fully. Another long silence.
Maybe taking a chance on your relationship with her. Maybe taking a chance on letting her know who you are, really.
Yeah, but then if I don't take the chance, if I feel loved and accepted by her, I'm never going to feel good about it anyway.
Did you hear the conclusion? If I don't chance it, I won't feel good anyway. Rogers didn't presume that she should take the chance to fully live or not take the chance. Gloria knows what's at stake, and she figured it out.
If her love and acceptance of you is based on a false picture of you, what the hell is the good of that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I mean, yes. But I also feel there's a lot of responsibility with being a mother. I don't want to feel like I've caused any big traumas in the children. I don't like all that responsibility. I think that's it. I don't like it feeling it could be my fault.
I guess that's what I meant when I said life is risky. It's to take the responsibility for being the person you would like to be with her is a hell of a responsibility.
It is.
A very frightening one.
Another powerful moment. In fact, this whole 15-minute stretch, Rogers is completely in sync with Gloria. It took him a little bit to kind of find his footing, but for the last 15 minutes or so, he is right in sync. He senses her dilemma. He accepts her fear. He holds space patiently in his pacing and word choice and tone of voice, his nonverbals, everything really spot on.
And you know, I look at it two ways. I like to see myself as being so honest with the kids and really being proud of myself, though, that no matter what I told them or no matter how bad they might think I was honest. Mm-hmm. And down deep, it's going to be a much more wholesome relationship. Mm-hmm. And yet, you know, I get jealous of, like, when they're with their daddy. I feel he's more flip. He's not quite as real. He's not quite as honest. But nevertheless, they see a sweet picture of their dad. You know, he's all goodness and light. And I'm envious of that, too. Mm-hmm. I want them to see me just as sweet as they see him. And yet I know he's not quite as real with them. Mm-hmm. So it seems like I've got to swap the one for the other. Mm-hmm. And I know this is really what I want the most, but I miss some of that glory.
Yeah.
And there's another new conflict. Pammy's dad. That's another strand in this metaphorical knot of tangled up necklaces that I used earlier. Gloria knew that that strand was there. It just hadn't needed to come up until now. And she's working on each issue as it comes to her mind in a kind of random but exquisitely efficient way. That's her actualizing tendency directing the session.
You sort of feel, I want them to have just as nice a picture of me as they have of their dad, and if his is a little phony, then maybe mine will have to be too. I think that's putting it a little too strongly.
But that's close. That is what I mean. So, I know she can't have that neat a picture of me if I were honest. Besides that, I do feel I'm a little more ornery than their dad anyway, so I'm likely to do more things that they disapprove of.
Rogers accepts that a little fake sweetness is appealing to Gloria sometimes. He didn't get tripped up looking for the perfect word, because when phony felt too harsh, he owned it and pulled it back. And notice that here, Gloria is just a little more ornery than their dad. She's not a devil like she was earlier. Greater self-acceptance, greater congruence. And he's just giving her the space to get there.
Sounds like you really find it quite hard to believe that they would really love you if they knew you.
That's right. You know, that's exactly it. Before therapy, I would have definitely chosen the other area. I'm going to get respect from them no matter what, even if I have to lie.
I see.
Well, right now, I know that's not true. Mm-hmm. And I'm not positive they'll truly accept me. Mm-hmm. Something tells me they will. I know they will, but I'm not positive. I want reassurance. Mm-hmm.
Something tells me they will. She's speaking from her experience. She knows her daughter. The anxiety comes from her condition of worth. A good mother doesn't, whatever a good mother doesn't do. But when Gloria speaks from her actual experience, you hear confidence. I know she will accept me. Gloria doesn't quite trust that she knows it yet, but she knows it. And that's what increased congruence is. Trusting what you sense and experience and accepting yourself for having the experience. Self-concept aligned with organismic experience. And Gloria is moving in that direction all by herself.
I keep wanting these
Now you're
things.
in kind of a no man's land of probably shifting from one point of view toward them to another, but boy, you'd sure like somebody to say, that's right, you go ahead and do it.
Yes, that's why I get encouraged when I read in a book from somebody I respect and admire that this is the right thing, no matter what. Honesty will win out. Well, then that keeps giving me confidence. By gosh, I'm right. But
It's so damn hard to really choose something on your own, isn't it?
which makes me feel very immature.
Gloria still wants an authority to sign off. And Rogers doesn't criticize her for wanting that. He acknowledges it's hard to make big decisions. Now, in the session previous, Fritz Perls had just called Gloria out for being phony, childish, immature. Perls thought Gloria needed to be confronted when she wasn't being authentically herself. But with Rogers, that awareness came to her on its own when she was ready to face it. That kind of makes me think of that Aesop's fable, where the sun and the wind were arguing over who was more powerful, and they decided that whoever could get a traveler to remove his cloak would be the stronger. Well, the wind blew and blew and blew, but the traveler just grabbed the cloak tighter. Then the sun shone down its warmth, and the traveler removed his cloak. That's a lot like Perls's and Rogers' different styles. They both wanted Gloria to be more of her true self. Perls challenged her, provoked her even, to get to that authentic person that he knew was in there. And his therapy works wonderfully with a lot of people. But by simply providing a warm, accepting environment, Gloria revealed her true self to Rogers in her own time. Even the immaturity that she's embarrassed about.
I don't like this in me. I wish I were grown up enough or mature enough to make my decisions and stick by them. But I need somebody to help me on, somebody to push me.
So to kind of reproach yourself for that, I guess, and feel, why, if I was anybody or if I was grown up, I'd be mature enough to decide things like this for myself.
Right.
We therapists are tempted to reassure clients sometimes. No, you're not immature. You just need confidence, right? We don't want clients to feel bad about themselves. But Rogers didn't reassure her. He didn't call her immature, but he didn't rescue her when she called herself that. Gloria pulled that weight into her workout herself when she sensed it was time to get some reps in on it.
And take more risks. I wish I'd take more risks. I wish that I could just go ahead and be this and say, however the children grow up, I've done my best. I didn't have to constantly have this conflict. And I'd like later years to say, no matter what you ask me, kids, at least I told you the truth. You may not have liked it, but it's been the truth. That somehow I can admire. I disrespect people that lie. I hate it. So you see what a double bind I am in. I hate myself if I'm bad, but I also hate myself if I lie. So it's accepting. I want to become more accepting.
And I guess, judging from your tone of voice, you sound as though you hate yourself more when you lie than you do in terms of things you disapprove of in your behavior.
I do.
Again, that inner desire for self-acceptance comes out. Gloria's been kind of stuck for a little bit. So for the second time, Rogers points out what he infers from her tone of voice, that she hates lying more, that it's more important to her to be honest than perfect. He notices the implicit message and helps her hear the answer emerging from within herself.
Because this has really bothered me. This happened with Pammy about a month ago, and it keeps coming to my mind. I don't know whether to go back and talk to her about it, or wait. She may have even forgotten what she asked me. But
The point is, you haven't forgotten.
I haven't, no.
Brings it back to Gloria again.
And I'd like to at least be able to tell her that I remember lying, and I'm sorry I lied, and it's been driving me bugs because I did. I do. Now I feel like now that's solved, and I didn't even solve the thing, but I feel relieved. I do feel like you've been saying to me, you're not giving me advice, but I feel like you're saying you really want to, you know what pattern you want to follow, Gloria, and go ahead and follow it. I sort of feel a backing up from you.
For a second there, she made contact with her actualizing tendency toward congruence, and it felt good. Relieving even if things aren't totally resolved. But as soon as she feels that relief, a condition of worth pops back up. I'm too flawed to trust myself. And she tries to give Rogers the credit. She wants so badly for him to have told her the answer that she's rethinking what just happened. I didn't do that. I think you told me. In your subtle, tricky therapist way, you told me what to do, right? Right? Incongruence can work both ways. So far in the film, her self-concept hasn't fit her experience. But this time, she's reinterpreting what she experienced so that it better fits her self-concept that had that condition of worth in it. And look at what Rogers does.
I guess the way I sense it is, you've been telling me that you know what you want to do. And yes, I do believe in backing up people in what they want to do. It's just a little different slant than the way it seems to you.
Are you telling me?
See, one thing that concerns me is it's no damn good you're doing something that you haven't really chosen to do. That's why I'm trying to help you find out what your own inner choices are.
That's about as close to reassurance as he ever gives her. He doesn't say, yes, me, from my psychologist, Dr. Rogers' point of view, agree that that's the thing you should do. No, he says, I trust that you know what you want, and nobody, not even me, needs to second guess your experience. How empowering is that?
But then there's also a conflict there because I'm not really positive what I want to do. The lying part, yes, but I'm not positive what I want to do when I go against myself.
Sure.
Like when I bring a man to the house, I'm not sure I want to do that. If I feel guilty afterwards, I must not have really wanted to.
And I'm interested that you say, I'm not just sure which words you use, but you don't want it, you don't like yourself or you don't approve of it when you do something against yourself.
Yes.
When she does something against herself, what part of me should I listen to? It's hard. Some people follow their heads, others follow their hearts. But both can get us pretty mixed up sometimes. Our thoughts can take us all in circles. All the shoulds and the musts and the what ifs and the could it be's and the overthinking can sometimes be so loud. Our hearts know better sometimes. Guilt, fear, anger, hate, love, lust. All of these can drown out what is truly right for us. I think our organismic valuing isn't either our thoughts or our feelings. Although feelings is the word that Gloria is going to use in a minute. No, thoughts and feelings can be loud and confusing, but our inner compass, our organismic valuing, our actualizing tendency, that's underneath our thoughts and feelings. It's quiet, but it's steady. And coming up, Gloria describes a time when she was in true resonance with it.
This is so different. Now, this kind of thing that we're talking about now, it isn't just knowing whether you want to do something or not. If I want to go to work in the morning or I don't want to go to work, that's easy. But when I find myself doing something I don't feel comfortable with, I automatically say, if you're not comfortable, Gloria, it's not right. Something's wrong. All right, now what I want to ask you is, how can I know which is the strongest? Because I do it, does that mean that's the strongest? And yet, if I disapprove, that's just part of the thing that's got to go along with it? See, it sounds like I'm picking up a contradiction. I'm not following.
A new question. First, it was, will it hurt my kid if I'm honest with her about sex? Now, it's, which part of myself should I listen to? And Rogers didn't answer her this time either. What stood out for me, though, was how confidently she said, if you're not comfortable, Gloria, something's wrong. It's only for a second, but that confidence comes out when she is in touch with her organismic valuing, her inner compass. Rogers has pointed out her tone of voice a few times already, but that's another time where he could have done that. Hold that statement up to her like a sounding board so she can really hear it.
It sounds like you're feeling a contradiction in yourself, too. Although what I heard you saying in part is, the way you like it is when you feel really comfortable about what you're doing.
Yes. And I have at times when I've made a decision. Now that seems right. That seems perfectly right. No conflict. But then there are times I do things that I feel uncomfortable with. So that there is a conflict there. It's not the same at all. So what I'm saying is, how do I really know when I'm following my true feelings if I have conflicts afterwards or guilt afterwards?
I see. Because in the moment it may seem like your true feelings.
Yes.
You notice his nonverbals there? To me, that felt like a light bulb moment for Rogers. Something clicked in that minute, and he really got what Gloria was saying. Perfect understanding isn't required, isn't even possible from a therapist, just their honest and consistent attempt to understand. And in this response, you can see the difference between when he's attempting to understand and times when Rogers really does. He says, oh, because in the moment, it seems like your true feelings.
Like if I'm starting to do it, okay.
So that really is tough when if you feel comfortable in the moment about it, but then afterward don't feel at all comfortable, which course of action was really the one you should have followed?
You know, the most outstanding thing, I don't know if you're following me when I say about this conflict. The one thing I know is I've wanted, for example, to leave my husband for quite a few years. I never did it. I kept thinking how nice it would be or how scary it would be, but I never did it. And all of a sudden when I did, it felt right. I didn't feel mean toward him. I just knew this is what I had to do. That's when I know I'm following myself. I'm following my feelings completely. I had no conflict there. Some unhappy things came from it, but I still had no conflict. That to me is when I'm following my feelings.
This is that spot where she calls them her feelings. But for me, feelings mean her emotions, and she didn't follow her emotions. She followed her inner knowingness. I just knew, she said. Rogers called that organismic valuing. It's not a mental or an emotional evaluation of what's right for her. It's more instinctual. It comes from her whole organism, not her head, not her heart, but her gut. For a long time, I bet that her gut knew this marriage isn't working. I'm not happy in it. That is her actual experience of being married, but a condition of worth. Maybe a good woman is committed to her marriage, or a good mother keeps the family together. A condition on her worth like that probably kept her from accepting that experience as part of herself. So she denied or distorted or made excuses for her experience. Oh, it's not that bad, she says. No marriage is perfect. It's better for the kids. Things like that. She was trying to make her experience fit her self-concept, which had that condition of worth in it. At some point, though, that thinking had to have changed. I can be a good mother even if I'm not married to their dad. And with that change, she could embrace her actual experience that the marriage wasn't working. She didn't want to be in it anymore. She didn't feel angry. She didn't feel mean or scared. She felt congruent, whole, all in one piece. And in just a minute, Rogers will use those very words.
And in everyday life, the small little decisions, the small little things to do don't come out that clear at all. So many conflicts come with them.
That's right.
Is this natural?
Although you're saying I expect it is. But you're saying too that you know perfectly well the feeling within yourself that occurs when you're really doing something that's right for you.
I do. I do. And I miss that feeling other times, and it's right away a clue to me.
You can really listen to yourself sometimes and realize, oh no, this isn't the right feeling. This isn't the way I would feel if I was doing what I really wanted to do.
But yet many times I'll go along and do it anyway. And say, oh, well, I'm in the situation now. I'll just remember next time.
Her gut knows in that moment with that guy, sex isn't right for her. Even if she has the physical desire for it, it's not what Gloria truly wants deep down. As she gets more congruent, has fewer conditions on her worthiness, she might be able to say, hey, let's slow it down. I don't want to do this tonight, and if you don't ask me out again, you don't. More self-acceptance means more acceptance of her actual experience, and the more she can do what she truly wants in any given moment. Heck, as she gets more congruent, she might start dating a better quality of guy, the kind of guy that her many conditions of worth might tell her she doesn't deserve. When Albert Ellis worked with Gloria, he tried to use logic and reasoning to get Gloria to be more accepting of herself. Rogers simply accepts her. She learns that she's acceptable by being accepted.
I mention this word a lot in therapy, and most therapists grin at me or giggle or something when I say utopia. But when I do follow a feeling and I feel this good feeling inside me, that's sort of utopia. That's what I mean. That's the way I like to feel, whether it's a bad thing or a good thing. But I feel right about me. This is what I want to accomplish.
I sense that in those utopian moments, you really feel kind of whole. You feel all in one piece.
Yes. Yeah, it gives me a choked up feeling when you say that, because I don't get that as often as I'd like. I like that whole feeling. That's real precious to me.
I expect none of us get it as often as we like, but I really do understand that.
She's tearful. I bet she feels very heard by Rogers. And that's crucial. It's not enough for him to be empathetic and accepting. Gloria has to experience it. She has to feel it. And in this moment, she feels his resonance with her in a way that words can't describe. So, tears.
It really does touch you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you know what else I was just thinking? I feel dumb saying it. All of a sudden, as I'm talking to you, I thought, gee, how nice I can talk to you, and I want you to approve of me, and I respect you. But I miss that my father can talk to me like you are. I mean, I'd like to say, gee, I'd like you for my father.
Now, this caused a huge controversy. Rogers was already controversial because he said that clients didn't need most of what other therapists did. But here you see transference. I'd like you as my father. Transference is common, and counselors need to accept it. Not encourage it, but just accept that it exists and help the client work through it. Watch how Rogers handled this, because he got criticized mercilessly.
I don't even know why that came to me.
You look to me like a pretty nice daughter.
And his critics jumped on that. Aha! Counter-Transference, they said. And who knows, maybe Rogers did feel a little paternal toward her here. I know that's something I've got to watch out for, especially when I work with teenagers. Sometimes a protective feeling comes up for me, and I think, oh no, don't trust that guy. Don't go to that party. But recognizing that protectiveness in me is part of me being self-aware. So, if Rogers was experiencing a little countertransference, I think that's normal. But he has enough self-awareness to catch himself, and he course corrects with his very next reflection.
But you really do miss the fact that you couldn't be open with your own dad.
A rule of thumb I tell my students is your most important reflection is your next reflection. And Rogers used his to course correct. I think he meant that first response to be self-disclosure, feedback in the here and now. You look to me like a pretty nice daughter. But self-disclosure is ripe for countertransference, and not even Carl Rogers was immune. But even if some countertransference slips out, it doesn't necessarily ruin therapy or hurt the client as long as the counselor is aware enough to recognize it and course correct, like Rogers did.
Yeah, I couldn't be open, but I want to blame it on him. I think I'm more open than he'd allow me. I mean, he would never listen to me talk like you are. Mm-hmm. And not disapprove or not lower me down. I thought of this the other day. Why do I always have to be so perfect? I know why. He always wanted me to be perfect. I always had to be better. And, I miss that.
She's back to childhood. That knot of necklaces. The metaphor that we used earlier, it's got strands all through it. She's got parts of her mom in it. She's got her ex, her daughter, that woman from work, divorce, sex, career. And here she finds there's stuff with her father that's mixed up in that knot. She didn't feel safe to be her true self with her dad. Safety that she does feel with Rogers, which is where the transference comes from. Critics really attacked Rogers for not addressing that transference, but he didn't think Gloria needed that. He thought that she needed understanding and acceptance, and that she would unravel the transference herself in her own time.
You're just trying like hell to be the girl he wants you to be.
Yeah, at the same time rebelling.
Sure.
Like I almost gloated writing him a letter the other day and telling him I'm a waitress, which I expect him to disapprove of. I go out at nights, and I almost gloated, hitting him back like, now, how do you like me?
Uh-huh.
And yet I really want acceptance and love from him. I mean, I know he loves
so
me.
So you slap at him and say, this is what I am now, see?
Yeah.
But
you raised me. How do you like it?
Yeah.
But you know what I think I want him to say? I knew this was you all along, honey, and I really love you.
Mm-hmm.
She wants unconditional love from her father, which sounds a lot like what Carl Rogers called unconditional positive regard, something I've been referring to as acceptance, unconditional acceptance in this video. He called it unconditional positive regard. He was very careful not to use the word love, because love has way too much baggage. But that's what Gloria wanted from her father, unconditional love and acceptance. Experiencing acceptance, positive feelings with the fewest conditions possible is how people come to experience themselves as acceptable, as lovable, just the way they are. You notice how Rogers accepts her bitterness toward her father? Accepts even her desire to verbally hit back at him sometimes. A good daughter probably shouldn't feel bitter like that, but Rogers accepts Gloria regardless, which helps her untangle that condition of worth from her self-concept. I can be a good daughter even if I resent my dad sometimes.
I guess you really feel badly that you think there's very little chance he'll say that.
No, he won't. He doesn't hear. I went back home to him about 2 years ago, really wanting to let him know I loved him, although I've been afraid of him. And he doesn't hear me. He just keeps saying things like, honey, you know I love you. You know I've always loved you. And he doesn't hear.
Never really known you and loved you, and this somehow is what brings the tears inside.
This has been that part of the session where I pointed out earlier, where Rogers seems to be absolutely in sync with Gloria. And for the past 15 or 20 minutes, I bet all the cameras, the lights, the stage hands, everything went away. And for Rogers, it's just been him and Gloria. I point that out because in the next couple of responses, he seems a little bit out of sync. I'm totally guessing here, but I wonder if Rogers didn't become aware of the setting again. For a second, he might have thought to himself, "Ooh, wow, how long have we been doing this? It's about time I should be wrapping this film up, and she's gotten into something big. What do I do?" It's really subtle, but listen to his tone of voice for the next two responses and see if you don't hear what I mean.
I don't know what it is. You know, when I talk about it, it feels more flip. If I just sit still a minute, it feels like a great big hurt down there that I feel cheated.
It's much easier to be a little flip, because then you don't feel that big lump inside of hurt.
And again, that's a hopeless situation. I tried working on it, and I feel it's something I have to accept. My father just isn't the type of man I'd really like. I'd like somebody more understanding and caring. He cares, but not in a way that we can cooperate or communicate.
But you feel, nope, I am permanently cheated.
He's with her, but to me his tone seemed a tiny bit less resonant with Gloria. I don't point it out to slam Rogers, but to stress that empathy, congruence, and positive regard are not all or nothing things. They fluctuate moment to moment, second to second even, and thankfully, perfection isn't required. Rogers might have felt this tiny disconnection and thought to himself, "To hell with it. I'm here with Gloria now, and if this film's too long for them, get over it." And he gets right back in sync with her. Watch.
That's why I like substitutes. Like, I like talking to you, and I like men that I can respect, doctors, and I keep sort of maybe underneath feeling like we're real close, you know, and it's sort of like a substitute father.
I don't feel that's pretending.
Well, you're not really my father.
No, I meant about the real close business.
Well, see, I sort of feel that's pretending too, because I can't expect you to feel very close to me. You don't know me that well.
All I can do is what I am feeling. That is, I feel close to you in this moment.
That's how it ends. You don't know me that well. That's the last thing we hear from Gloria. Ironically, I think Gloria made herself known much more here than she did with either Ellis or Perls. But her sit-down with Rogers is one of the most famous, maybe infamous films in psychology. It caused a lot of controversy, especially the transference and counter-transference stuff at the end. And when critics learned that there were 249 words of additional dialogue that weren't in the film, the conspiracy theories flew. Were they left out on purpose? If so, why? What was Rogers hiding? Me, I don't care much about all that. I've pointed out the wonderful forward motion I saw in Gloria, even in this brief film. It's a fantastic example of the power and the danger in a humanistic, person-centered approach, because the counseling relationship is the therapy. Counselors have got to be exceptionally self-aware of their strengths, their needs, their faults, and they have to be as accepting of themselves as they can, warts and all. In fact, it's his self-acceptance that allowed Rogers to course-correct the couple of times his own stuff might have come out. So even if Rogers wasn't perfect in the film, this film demonstrates all the important concepts of his theory and how a client can reconnect to herself, even in 30 short minutes. I'm Dr. Bret Manasseh. If you enjoyed this reaction, please like and subscribe. Leave your comments below. Check out some of the other talks on this channel, and I hope to see you again real soon here in Dr. Bret's office.